Everyone, hope you're well. Checking in on a bunch of alts today, and they are in order of how they were voted on. And then we'll comment on who's stronger, who's weaker, and how they're looking. We're going to start on the weekly timeframes and zoom in. So we're going to look at Bitcoin, ETH, NEO, ONT, VET, BNB, IOTA, ICX, and ADA. Starting off with Bitcoin, as we know, the bulls are still in control of the short term. We're still not clear that a lower high has been set on the weekly time frame. We're still watching the tightening pattern, and we're waiting patiently for either a lower high to be set and the daily high or low pattern to be lost, or a bull break. And obviously at this point, a lower high being set and the daily high or low pattern being lost is the more likely scenario, but there is no sign of that happening at this point. The last daily high or low was 67.90, and we have seen nothing but follow through from that. So when we do consolidate, the move and the follow through that we have seen from here is likely to still maintain a higher low compared to 67.90 on this initial pullback, also considering that the exponential moving average supports are going to be above that level as well. So it's going to likely require a higher low and then the bears, or then the bulls losing it. So I don't believe our next level of consolidation, unless there's some significant bear volume behind it, I don't think we're going to break this daily higher low pattern just yet. And we could be heading into next week with at least a couple more days still maintaining this daily uptrend. So the 4-hour time frame at this point is also still in control of the bulls. At this point, since we saw that daily consolidation, which is depicted here on the 4-hour, and we got the turnaround and the change of the trend, still just a lower high. Now we have the higher low and the bull break. So now we're following through with the trend change, and we have not lost higher lows on that time frame either, the 4-hour. So I got support at 71.80 and 71.30. And we're not going to see any daily consolidation as long as 4-hour higher lows remain. We're holding exponential support at this point, and it would require, number one, a loss of the 4-hour higher lows to see daily consolidation, a loss of the daily higher lows to see weekly consolidation. So as always, these time frames are just fractals of each other in terms of what we're looking for. Have to go one to the next in terms of steps for either the bulls or the bears to take over. And in this instance, it's the bears that have to take over on the 4-hour and the daily to give us our weekly lower high. Otherwise, we keep looking for continuation, and the more we see continuation, the better for the bulls in terms of the weekly tightening pattern setup. So at this point on the hourly time frame, we have the potential of an equilibrium. It actually looks like a cup and handle pattern now that I'm looking at it right now, with our left side of resistance, healthy consolidation, unable to break resistance of 73.28. We got up to 73.23, missed by $5, bull flag of consolidation, and watch for a breakout here. If we see a break of 73.28, we're looking at 7,400 and then 7,500 psychological levels, because again, when you look at the daily chart, we don't have much resistance up here. 74.95 is the next level, and these aren't even clear levels. We're just defaulting to them because we don't have any clear resistance levels because there were no real bounce attempts on the daily time frame. Another thing that I go back and look at is what was the scenario in terms of when we set our weekly lower high back when we were in the mid 8,000 range. And the scenario there was a very strong bull push up where we got extended. And if we look at that on the daily time frame, it was a scenario where the bulls had not established a daily support level after this big move up. So we saw a move of 73 up to 85, essentially a $1,200 move, still maintained the daily higher lows, and then we lost them. So again, that's the scenario that I foresee in terms of changing this trend. I don't think we're just going to drop right off and break the higher low pattern. I think we're going to have to see a move like this where we're unable to see the continuation and then lose the daily higher lows. And again, there's no sign of that happening at this point. And if we look at the 4-hour time frame, what was the indication that the daily top was in at that point? And it was this candlestick right here. Look at that bear volume. So if we see some kind of huge spike in bear volume on the 4-hour time frame, it'll absolutely stand out for a marker to potentially be that shift in momentum, just like it was back then. But again, can't stress enough that right now the bulls are still in full control. And by the time I'm done talking here, I wouldn't be surprised to see us testing these resistance levels. Something that people are noting over on BitThumb and over in Korea is BTC KRW, the Korean won. So we're seeing this huge volume, and a lot of people doing a good job seeing this and pointing it out and speculating what could this mean. We look at the weekly time frame and we see it's huge volume compared to the last few months. Now, normally when I see this much volume, I would absolutely expect to see the price go with it. If you show me this chart and you block off the last few months and then you show me just the volume, I would say, oh yeah, that's the clear breakout. We saw a bull break at the lower highs and saw follow through. Obviously, the price action is not seeing that. So we're not seeing the price action reflective of what we would anticipate if this were buying volume in terms of the price going up. So the question is, what is it then? And even if it were only on one exchange that we saw this volume, we would see arbitrage from other exchanges, but I don't think it would be enough to offset what this volume would do. So there's a lot of speculation around what it could be. Korean Crypto Exchange restart user registrations, and they renewed a deal. Where is it here? Planning to sign the contract to allow the exchange to assign new accounts. And so they worked out a deal with the banks, and there's something going on between the banks and the exchange here. And again, I don't have enough knowledge to know what that is. We can only speculate what that is, but it's worth paying attention to and worth keeping an eye on just as far as that volume goes. And obviously this is a bullish news event for the sector as a whole if we're going to see Korea getting back into the game and new reborn interest, I should say, over there on the other side of the world. So that would be nice. Only add some bull pressure. But another thing that's standing out today that is unusual, speaking of volume, is the amount of shorts that have opened today. So in the video yesterday, I said I would not be surprised to see a green day tomorrow for the shorts. We are getting to the point where we're looking for shorts to begin opening up positions again. This is the biggest increase in shorts in one day that we've ever seen. And the price, again, it's not reflecting that. So this, of course, is on Bitfinex. And the question now is, what is going on and what does this mean? Well, in short, we can see that obviously we have added about 11,000 shorts, 10 to 11,000 shorts have been opened on Bitfinex here in just the past, let's call it 20 hours. So obviously that is a very significant move. And the fact that the price is not moving in relation to that is notable. So that's this move right here where we saw the last 5 candlesticks, and it's not knocking the price down is basically what's going on. So what does that mean? Is bulls are absorbing that selling pressure at this point. So it's very notable because if we do continue to see this move to the upside and we do get up around 75,000 plus, or I wish 7,500 plus, that is going to add some decent pressure to everybody that opened up those shorts in the last 20 hours, and they're going to be in the red by a few percent if we do get up to those levels. So it's going to be interesting to watch if these shorts getting a little bit too aggressive here adds to that move to the upside. But what that does tell me is obviously that the shorts are anticipating our weekly lower high is going to be set sooner rather than later. And it's an aggressive move because if I am looking at this weekly time frame and looking to establish a major short position, the move for a pullback for a weekly higher low compared to 5,900 is not enough to see huge gains, in my opinion. In my opinion, that's a kind of loading of shorts that's going to be looking for the lower high and then a bear break, which of course is entirely possible to play out, and that's where the big payday would come in. But if I were looking, for the bottom line is those shorts are not being cautious in any way, shape, or form. They're being very aggressive. So it doesn't look like they're very concerned about what a bull break would do here. And as a bull, someone I want to see this space break bullish, and constantly, tampering my expectations or bias to wanting that, to making sure that's not coming into my technical analysis and affecting things. But I want to see shorts as high as possible when we see this bull break. We saw what happened back in April on the daily chart when we had our equilibrium and then bull break. We saw huge covering. Where are we here? So we had the equilibrium for something like 11 days and then the bull break and huge covering that took place because of that. So that's what I want to see on the weekly time frame. I want to see things get as tight as possible. I want to see shorts get as high as possible. And then I want to see a bull break because that only means that that's added fuel and added continuation momentum of shorts having to cover. So I would love to see that continue to happen. And again, I'm still keeping the same. None of what we just saw in those 2 charts that I pointed out, that's not changing what I'm anticipating to happen in any way. I'm still looking for the weekly lower high, and I'm still looking for the ranges to continue to tighten. And just a note, you could call this a descending triangle on the weekly time frame. I've been calling it an equilibrium, and it could go either way. You could absolutely call it a descending triangle, and that is generally a bearish continuation pattern, but it's not a high enough percentage pattern that plays out for me to assume the break of the direction. I always wait for the break because triangles, to me, I can't tell you how many hundreds of descending triangle patterns I've seen break bullish. So again, it's just not a high enough percentage pattern for me to attribute any direction with it. So I'm patiently waiting for the weekly, and again, still sticking to the same game plan, just watching one day at a time, daily higher lows, 4-hour higher lows. How long can the bulls remain in control? How far, or I should say, how close can we get to 8,488, our last lower high? And again, getting ready for the excitement that is to come, likely in about a month or so. So going to keep watching the shorts, obviously. And if they do continue to increase, again, it's essentially taking a can of soda and shaking it up. And then if we get the bull break of the lower highs, we open the soda and the shorts all spray out everywhere because they are forced to cover quickly. Ethereum on the daily chart did get a bull break, but again, no follow through. And so ETH BTC, which we are continuing to monitor, is still in a daily downtrend very clearly. So again, I have no interest in Ethereum bullish at this point, and maybe interest in Ethereum bearish if we do get daily consolidation on Bitcoin. With how this correlation is favoring right now, we're going to see Ethereum lose the daily higher low pattern and very quickly look right back down to 250, our recent low. So unless that correlation changes, unless the ETC BTC daily chart changes the trend, pulling back with a weekly lower high on Bitcoin is likely going to lead to lower lows on Ethereum. That's something to note. And I would be looking to play bearish Ethereum if I were playing this market bearish, unless that ETH BTC chart changes. NEO USD. Now we're getting into altcoins. And just scanning through these altcoins, again, I'm not looking at these altcoins every day because I'm not actively trading them every day. But what I'm looking at on a lot of these weekly charts has me looking like we are getting a little toppy, in the sense that most of these weekly charts are set up for a clear lower high, and we're just patiently waiting for that lower high. So that makes sense in the sense that that's what we're looking for on Bitcoin as well. And we're just watching for the daily uptrends to be lost to indicate our weekly lower highs have been set. So here at this point on NEO USDT on Binance, we have our low, the high of the move at this point. Not much information there. We need more details. We did see an inside bar break bullish, but I want to see what the daily chart looks like. You can see the very clear higher low pattern still intact for the bulls here. Most recently 1840. As long as 1840 holds, it's still just a daily higher low, and resistance is 2337. Break 2337 and 2510 is the next resistance level. And again, it's a bit of a ascending wedge, you could call it. Again, I don't usually draw these trend lines, but if I were to draw them, like I've got the extended versions on, but we'll just leave it there for now. And this is how I would draw this pattern, almost like a bear flag. You could even draw it tighter. If I wanted to do a different anchor point, I would start it here. I would put it right like that. Get rid of some of these lines so just the wedge looks clear. Worth keeping an eye on that wedge. If we pull back, we'll look for the daily higher low to maintain. But keep an eye on this tightening pattern because it does look a bit wedgy to me. And again, I don't usually draw the wedges, but that's what stands out right now. So it's all just a question of, can the daily higher lows hold? And if they cannot, our weekly lower high has been established. In order to change this weekly trend on NEO, we're not just going to do it on this single bull move, in my opinion. We're going to have to set a lower high on the weekly because our last clear lower high, 40.65, 43.23. Again, we're nowhere near those levels. We're almost talking, a 90% move to get up to those points. Checking in on ONT USD, same thing. The bounce has been playing out for 3 weeks. We're getting a little bit toppy. We have a double top of resistance up here and our low. So again, the weekly chart doesn't give us a ton of details. 288 is a very clear double top level, and that is a very clear top fishing level. So it's the same potential psychology of the cup and handle pattern, but the bulls have to show up soon to get that follow through. Bears are either making an entry right now with a stop loss above 288, or they're waiting for a loss of the daily higher low. And if 230 breaks, we're looking down at 2 psychological and then 194 after that. So if we break 230, the weekly lower high is likely set, and we're going to look to pull back, and the bulls will attempt a weekly higher low. But a very clear resistance level, and guarantee you there's a bunch of shorts using that level for their current trade game plan. BETUSD, same thing. Solid bounce. No doubt it's one of the stronger bounces we've seen, but we're looking for a lower high to form. The odds that the bulls can V-shaped recovery all the way back up to the recent high up at 225 is just not likely. So we go to the daily chart for more details. Most recent higher low being established here at 1557. If we lose 1557, the next level that I'm looking at is 1236 as a clear support level. And it's another one of those potential cup and handle setups here. If you see it on the 4-hour time frame, it's more clear. Couldn't break resistance, healthy consolidation. Now we need the breakout. Let's see if Bitcoin keeps this daily uptrend and keeps the 4-hour uptrend and sees another leg up to 7,400 plus. Let's see if these altcoins are able to see a bull break of these two cup and handle like patterns. So here it is on the 4-hour. Actually, it's better on the daily for ONT. It's more of a long drawn out pattern. So daily on ONT and 4-hour on VET because, again, it's not as long and drawn out. We're talking 6 days of this pattern versus almost 2-3 times that, looking like 15 plus days here. BNB USDT, another one. Last weekly lower high is 1489. It looks like another lower high is just going to be set on this bounce attempt. Another weekly inside bar bull break that did see some follow through. Daily chart still maintaining higher lows. Look at this cup and handle setup here. It's here as well, all over the place. This is going to get interesting tonight and into tomorrow. 1035 is support, followed by 973. When we lose the daily higher lows, we are confident that our weekly lower high has been set. Here it is on the 4-hour cup and handle psychological pattern. We had resistance of 1155 and 1157. So technically, we did break to a higher high by 2 pennies. That's close enough that I would call that a double top. So again, if you were going to make a textbook for technical analysis, you wouldn't put this one in it because it doesn't fit the exact definition. But I have wiggle room. I don't feel that technical analysis is textbook definition. That's not the best way to be doing it, in my opinion. And I would consider this still the psychology of that pattern is still alive, even though it did break resistance by 2 pennies, technically speaking. So short-term support here. Bulls ideally want to hold 1107 to give them the chance to try and break out. If we break 1107, the odds of this up and handle like pattern will decrease pretty significantly if that does break bearish. IOTA USD, same thing, weekly time frame. Anything lower than 118 is a lower high. And if we lose the daily higher lows, our weekly lower high will be set. This is the range we have been trading in for the last 6 days at this point. I'm looking at support of 656, resistance of 815, and the bulls are going to try and hold 656 for a higher low, and then see a bull break of 76 to try and head back to resistance. So if we look at the 4-hour time frame, it's a tightening pattern, high, low, lower, high. Bulls are trying to form the higher low. Not convinced that we have done so just yet. If the bulls can get up back into the 73-cent range, we will have our 4-hour higher low at 6993. But at this point, we could still keep pulling back, and it would all still be about 656 support. So need to get some more follow through to be convinced our higher low has been established, but certainly a tightening range on the 4-hour time frame. And again, a different look. We're looking at all these names compared to each other, while those other names got closer to their resistance, or in the instance of Binance, got just above it. Here, we didn't get close. So I can compare just the 4-hour time frame. IOTA USD is weaker on the 4-hour than Binance, than VET, and then ONT. ICX USDT, same thing. You can see the correlation. And again, once you get your first name down for analysis, the first altcoin I did here, everything else just visually stands out extremely similar, and it makes analysis a lot quicker. So there's our low and our high. We're looking for the weekly lower high. We're looking for a loss of daily higher lows, which has not happened yet. Anything above 785 keeps the bulls in control. We were able to see continuation here, so that tells me a little bit more strength than those names that were unable to see it with that cup and handle pattern at this point. And you can see a bit more clear of a bull break. Resistance was 976 and 974, and we got up to 995. So essentially, that's a 2% bull break of that pattern. Why am I not calling that a triple top? Because again, the percentage difference. So it's, a 2 IOT, the difference, or actually it was Binance. The difference here was 2 pennies, but it's out of $11.50. And here on ICX, it's a difference of 2 pennies out of $1. So the percentage is much more significant. 2% there and pretty much less than 0.2% on Binance. So that is why I am looking at things a little bit differently with those two. So it's percentage difference rather than price difference of levels, which is why I am treating them differently and why I would say that ICX has broken more bullish. Short-term support is 8996. It's actually 8976. And then we would be looking down at 8546. So bulls just want to see that continuation move after brief consolidation. And the daily uptrends are still intact for all of these names at this point, and that's the most important factor because of the weekly setups. ADA BTC is the first one that is not pairing with USD, and again, that's what people want and what they vote for. And we are looking at the bounce hardly even starting on the weekly chart yet. When we do get started, 261, anything under that level is a lower high. The daily chart's trying to change the trend, but it's not doing so yet. But it is forming a tight pattern, and we can be watching the 4-hour for an equilibrium. Here it is. High, low, lower high, and bulls with the higher low. Support is 1421, and resistance is 1521. So that's the range to be watching. The bears have the upper hand because we are much closer to support breaking than we are to resistance breaking with where we currently stand in this pattern. But it's very clear the downtrend is still intact. Daily downtrend of lower highs has been in play for quite some time. If we see a break of 1410, the bears still have complete control of this daily chart. So that's where we stand. A lot of decent setups here just in terms of very clear levels, whether you're looking to play bullish and top fish some of these resistance levels, or whether you're looking to play bearish and top fish those resistance levels, or looking to play bullish on bull breaks of those resistances. But at this point, again, looking at those weekly timeframes, I would be very quick in bull positions because we are anticipating that weekly lower high is likely going to form sooner rather than later. So heading into tomorrow, we're going to be watching the shorts chart for Bitcoin. We're going to be watching the 4-hour higher low pattern. When we lose 4-hour higher lows, we'll look at the potential that daily consolidation is incoming. And again, we have enough wiggle room for the bulls that we can anticipate a higher low on the daily is going to form when we get that consolidation again. Because at this point, we are currently $500 above that support level, and that's a solid 7 or 8% or so. So I hope you all continue to do good things. I hope you have a great long holiday weekend, holiday day off tomorrow. Fortunately for those chart addicts, there is still cryptocurrency going. Here at the end of the video, just going to replay some from Yosemite trip I went on a few months ago, and some Airbnb I stayed at, and some hummingbirds and all that. And I will see you all tomorrow. I hope you have a great night.